What's up, guys? I'm Landon from Shoewear, and today we're checking out the newly released Nike Giannis Immortality 2 in this sale colorway. So I may as well get this out of the way really quick. I do have 2 fractures in my right hand, so I'm going to be braced up for this video and for probably the next couple of months. So you're not going to see quite as many shooting videos, but I am still going to do, all the performance testing movements so I can give you guys an accurate review. But if this is your first time checking us out, feel free to drop a follow or subscribe wherever you're watching and give this video a like. We would greatly appreciate that. So starting off with the box and the price, these get the same blue box from the first release with Giannis's player logo kind of slapped on top in the middle. And as for pricing, these stayed the same, retailing for only $85. This is the cheaper, or just like, the sub line to Giannis's Zoom Freak line with Nike, so definitely going to be an affordable model. So checking out the appearance for these, I'm not going to lie, this shoe is kind of funny here because I don't really know who was in charge of making the model, but they might have had other things on their plate because this is nearly identical to the Giannis Immortality 1. And then in the places that it's, not the exact same, it's like the exact opposite. So just let me explain. So the midsole construct and just like the way the wavy lines look is going to be copied verbatim. You're going to have the same wrinkles around like the ankle and the heel. You have that same curve on the heel. And then that spot also has some Athens text on there to kind of point out where Giannis is originally from. So when it comes to the spots, since they switched it up, the outside of the upper has a reverse Nike swoosh, which is actually really clean. The Zoom Freak 4s are supposed to be releasing soon, and they do have that same type of concept. It's just a little bit bigger, I think, but it is definitely similar in that spot. And then on the inside of the upper, you have a forward-facing Nike swoosh. I say that it's kind of funny because on the Giannis Immortality 1, the swoosh on the outside was actually facing forward, and then on the inside of the upper, the swoosh was reversed. So it's basically the same exact shoe, just kind of a mirrored look on the upper, but they did at least kind of change up the pattern on the upper a little bit. And then they added the GT Run logo with like those squiggly lines in the circle on the inside part of the shoe for some reason. Like the Kyrie Fly Traps did the same thing. I think it was that shoe. And if anyone knows or has an idea as to why that is, let me know, because I haven't really seen anything about it. But with all that said, it almost kind of sounds like I'm picking on this model, and I'm not. Like, I actually like it, even though there were definitely some minimal changes. I still do like the changes that they made. But now let's go ahead and see how these shoes hold up on the court. So now getting into more of the materials and the performance side, and starting off with the cushioning, it's kind of strange to me that Nike hasn't put a lot of cushioning features into the beginning of this line. I mean, different sublines are always going to, prioritize just different sections, because most of these shoes do end up being a little bit cheaper, so you can't, really expect them to pass every single category with flying colors. Like, I think the Kyrie Fly Traps, they don't do much with the cushioning at all either, but the KD Trey 5s and like the LeBron Witness line, just to name a few, they actually play really nice for the cushioning. So these are going to be relying on some Phylon in the midsole to get you by. That is pretty much about all they are going to do. But there are some cutouts in the midsole to kind of help reduce the weight, and this is going to be, a super light shoe. That also helps provide optimal responsiveness because it allows just for more space for the foam to expand and compress, and the responsiveness is definitely going to be the side that the Giannis Immortality 2 is going to lean towards. Like, some shoes are softer, but they're not as responsive. Some are more responsive, but not as soft. Some are well balanced where you're going to get some of both, but I mean, this will be better for your energy return, more so than someone looking for something, a really comfortable model to play in. And I still feel like these might be, a hair softer than the Immortality ones, but I mean, not by enough to really notice, unless you have like one shoe on each foot, and they still have like the same cushioning setup. So I am kind of hoping that Nike tries out something different next year, because I do prefer softer models with a little bit more impact protection, but that's just me. So now looking at the materials and the support, just like last year's model, these are going to get a mesh upper that is engineered to be lightweight and breathable. There is a slight difference to the pattern though, like I was saying in the appearance section. Like, you're going to have some arrows and stuff kind of mixed into that design. And just like the first pair, these stayed extremely light, only weighing 372 grams for a size 10.5, which is up like 20 or 30 grams from last year's Immortality 1, but it's still crazy light, and you definitely get that sense whenever you're playing in these. But something I always keep an eye on whenever shoes enter into like, this light of a category is making sure that the support, doesn't suffer because of that. The upper definitely is a little bit thin, but, with how big and aggressive Giannis is in like just with his movements and stuff on the court, I wasn't surprised to see Nike add some pieces on here to reinforce your foot. First is a pretty defined heel counter on the back of the shoe that does a good job of keeping your ankle in place, and that's no different from last year's model in that same spot. And then in the midfoot, you're going to have like kind of directly tied into the lacing system where those yellow flaps are. It's going to be a band that just helps, keep your foot from sliding around and moving more than it should. And that was also in last year's Giannis Immortality 1 as well, but they did make it more visible in the 2s this year. It's definitely transparent, especially through the inner side of the upper. I mean, and I always like whenever shoes do stuff like that, just kind of let you see what's being used within the shoe that helps make it work. I don't know. I just think it's kind of a cool look. But I mean, because of those aspects, the Giannis Immortality 2 plays well for both of these categories. Like, you get an extremely light shoe to play in that has the support to back it up, which was nice to see. To finish off with traction, if you could possibly believe it, the Giannis Immortality 2 gets the exact same setup as the Giannis Immortality 1. At this point, I feel like, the 3s are going to be just looking so majorly different because they pretty much hit the snooze button on switching up this shoe until next year, it seems like. But I actually do like this setup. It's going to be broken up into a few different spots, but you are going to get a herringbone pattern, which is just going to be those arrows covering the shoe. And that's going to be running from the front all the way to the back, covering the entire shoe. And the traction is pretty solid on these. It's definitely not going to be a weak spot. And I'm going to bring the audio down here for our new little squeak test that we've been getting, suggestions to include. You can kind of tell that these aren't going to be, super squeaky, but it is there a little bit. And that's not always going to determine the grip because these are still pretty solid. But I mean, at the most, they are going to be good for this category. I still wouldn't say they're going to be great. And as far as for like outdoor use, the tread looks like it would hold up pretty well. Like the grooves aren't super deep, but it is, kind of deep enough. But with this not being one of the better shoes out there for impact protection necessarily, I don't know that I would recommend it for comfort unless the comfort doesn't really bother you that much, like you just don't have sensitive of a foot. But to finish off with sizing, you do get a little extra space as far as like the length goes, probably about a thumb's width. So I wouldn't go a half size down though, because you are going to be having, a little bit of a slightly narrow shoe just with how these feel. But overall, I mean, I just laid it out there for you guys. This is nearly identical to the Giannis Immortality 1, so you can expect some good support, pretty good traction. The cushioning is going to fall on the more responsive side and less on like the soft side, like I said. But my favorite part is just how light this shoe is. Like, that's definitely something that you can look forward to. And Nike didn't change much, but I mean, where they did change it, I did at least like the changes they made to the appearance with the reverse swoosh. So I mean, that was cool to me. Thank you guys for taking some time to watch. If you're interested in buying these shoes and you want to support our channel, just click the link here on screen, or we have links down below or in our bio, so feel free to check those out. But until next review, I'm Landon from Shoewear. Peace.